The unexpected call for help. In the vastness of space, a distress signal echoed through the cold void, reaching a distant human outpost. The message was clear but dire. An alien species known as the Xylarans, who had long been denied aid by the galactic community, was on the brink of extinction. Their planet, Rigelin, was suffering from catastrophic seismic activities that threatened to annihilate their civilization. Despite their desperate pleas, none of the advanced alien races were willing to assist. The Xylarans were deemed too insignificant, too primitive to warrant help. But humanity, driven by an unyielding sense of justice and compassion, decided to take the risk. Captain Emma Hayes of the starship Endeavour received the mission. A veteran of countless interstellar conflicts, she knew the stakes were high. The journey to Rigelin was fraught with dangers, and the humans themselves were still recovering from their last war. Resources were scarce, and the mission was highly controversial among Earth's leaders. Yet the decision had been made. They would go, not for glory or reward, but because it was the right thing to do. The Endeavour set out with a small fleet of support ships. Engineers, scientists, medics, and soldiers, all handpicked for their expertise and dedication, joined the mission. As the fleet approached the Rigelin system, the crew could see the devastation from space. Massive fractures covered the planet's surface, and the atmosphere was filled with ash and debris. The situation was worse than they had anticipated, but there was no turning back. A Rigel on a dying world. The Endeavour landed on Rigelin amidst a storm of seismic tremors. The ground shook violently as the planet's crust threatened to tear apart. The Xylarans, a reptilian species with large, sorrowful eyes, greeted the humans with a mix of fear and hope. They had heard of humans, but never imagined they would come to their aid. Captain Hayes assured them that humanity was there to help, but time was of the essence. The first priority was to stabilize the planet's core, which was the source of the seismic disturbances. Dr. Lucas Carter, the lead scientist on the mission, proposed a daring plan to deploy a series of seismic stabilizers deep within the planet's mantle. The operation would require precision and coordination, as even the slightest mistake could trigger a cataclysmic event. Teams of human engineers and Xylaran volunteers worked tirelessly, drilling into the planet's surface and deploying the stabilizers. Communication was a challenge, as the Xylarans had a limited understanding of human technology, but their determination to save their world drove them to learn quickly. As the stabilizers were activated, the tremors began to subside, but the danger was far from over. The sacrifice. Despite their best efforts, the seismic activity on Rigelin continued to escalate. The stabilizers bought them some time, but it was clear that more drastic measures were needed. Captain Hayes convened a council of the human and Xylaran leaders to discuss their options. Dr. Carter suggested a radical solution. Detonate a series of controlled nuclear explosions at key fault lines to release the built-up pressure in a controlled manner. It was a dangerous plan, one that could either save the planet or destroy it entirely. The Xylaran leaders were hesitant. They had already lost so much, and the thought of using such destructive force terrified them. But they also knew that without intervention, their world was doomed. After much deliberation, they agreed to the plan. However, the operation would require someone to manually trigger the explosions, as the remote detonation systems were unreliable due to the planet's unstable electromagnetic field. Captain Hayes volunteered for the mission, knowing full well that it could be a one-way trip. Her crew protested, but she was resolute. This was her responsibility, and she would not ask anyone to take the risk in her place. As she prepared for the mission, the Xylarans and her crew bid her farewell, hoping against hope that she would succeed. The final countdown. Captain Hayes descended into the depths of Rigelin's most volatile fault line, accompanied by a small team of engineers. The deeper they went, the more unstable the environment became. The ground cracked and shifted beneath them, and the air was thick with sulfuric fumes. But they pressed on, knowing that the fate of an entire species rested on their shoulders. The nuclear devices were placed at strategic points along the fault line, and the team prepared for detonation. As the countdown began, Captain Hayes thought of Earth, her home, and the people she was doing this for. The seconds ticked away, and as the final moment approached, she manually triggered the explosions. A deafening roar shook the planet as the nuclear blasts reverberated through the fault lines. For a moment, it seemed as if the planet would be torn apart. But then, slowly, the tremors began to subside. The ground stabilized, and the cracks in the planet's surface began to close. Captain Hayes and her team had done it. They had saved Rigelin. The aftermath. The Endeavour and its fleet remained in orbit around Rigelin, monitoring the planet's recovery. The nuclear explosions had stabilized the planet's core, but the damage was still immense. Entire cities had been destroyed, and countless lives lost. The Accelerans mourned their dead, but they also celebrated their survival. They knew that without the humans' intervention, they would have perished. Captain Hayes and her team returned to the surface to help with the relief efforts. They worked side by side with the Accelerans, rebuilding what they could and providing medical aid to the injured. The bond between the two species grew stronger, forged in the crucible of their shared struggle. The Accelerans, once a solitary and insular species, began to see the value in cooperation and friendship. As the weeks passed, Rigelin slowly began to heal. The Accelerans, with the help of human engineers and scientists, started to rebuild their civilization. They constructed new cities, stronger and more resilient than before, and developed new technologies to prevent such a disaster from happening again. The humans, having fulfilled their mission, prepared to leave, but not before forging a lasting alliance with the Accelerans. A new beginning. The Endeavour and its fleet departed Rigelin, leaving behind a planet that had been forever changed. The Accelerans, once isolated and mistrustful of outsiders, had embraced a new future, one of cooperation and unity with the wider galaxy. They had learned that strength did not come from isolation, but from the bonds they formed with others. Captain Hayes, reflecting on the mission, knew that humanity had also changed. They had risked everything to save a species that had been abandoned by the rest of the galaxy, and in doing so, they had proven their own resilience and compassion. The alliance with the Accelerans would be a cornerstone of humanity's future in the stars, a testament to what could be achieved when different species worked together for the greater good. The Endeavour returned to Earth as heroes, but Captain Hayes knew that the real victory was in the survival of the Accelerans. The story of Rigelin would be told for generations, a reminder of the power of empathy and the strength of the human spirit. And as the galaxy continued to evolve, humanity and the Accelerans would face new challenges together, united by their shared history and common goals. The legacy of Rigelin. Years passed, and the story of Rigelin became legend. The Accelerans, once on the brink of extinction, had flourished with the help of their human allies. They had become a prominent member of the galactic community, known for their resilience and their close ties to humanity. The monument to the alliance between humans and Accelerans stood tall in the capital city of Rigelin, a symbol of hope and unity. Captain Hayes, now retired, often visited the monument, reflecting on the mission that had defined her career. She knew that the alliance with the Accelerans was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and there were countless other species and worlds that could benefit from the kind of cooperation that had saved Rigelin. The legacy of that mission was not just in the lives that were saved, but in the example it set for the future. As the sun set on Rigelin, casting a warm glow over the monument, Captain Hayes felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The story of Rigelin would never truly end, for it was a story of endless possibilities, of what could be achieved when different beings came together for a common purpose. It was a story of hope, and as long as that hope remained, the legacy of Rigelin would continue to inspire generations to come.